Art of War in Code, Strategies to Overcome Resistance. Welcome to Startup Hack. Today I'm diving into something that every software developer faces, resistance. No, not the kind that slows down your network, but that inner force that stops you from building the next big app, learning a new language, or even starting that side project you've been dreaming about. We're talking about The Art of War by Pressfield, and it's not just for artists. Developers can learn a ton from this book. Ready to crush your resistance? Let's get into it. Welcome back to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer Thomason, and here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our licensed boot camps and build custom software solutions for companies. I do a lot of work as a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and a solid 25 years in software development, I've mastered the art of transforming technology teams and products. So here's the deal. Pressfield talks about this invisible force called resistance. It's like the ultimate boss, and it fights for creatives. For developers, resistance is what keeps you from coding that passion project, applying for that dream job, or mastering a new framework. Think about the last time you procrastinated on starting a new app or felt imposter syndrome creeping in. That's resistance. Now, resistance is that nagging feeling that stops you before starting. You want to build the next big mobile app, but instead you get caught up in the endless tutorials or Netflix binges. It's sneaky because it doesn't come at you with alarms blaring. It's subtle. In the context of software development, resistance is why you keep putting off learning a new language that you've never started or starting your own open source project. Pressfield says resistance grows stronger the more important the work is. The bigger your project, the stronger the resistance. Now, for developers, resistance shows up as perfectionism, distractions, or I'll learn this later. You're halfway through coding a feature, but then you suddenly get the urge to quickly check Twitter. Hours are gone. Resistance. Or maybe you've been working on a project for weeks and suddenly you're like, is this even good enough? Maybe I should just quit. It's the same thing that keeps people from writing novels. It's just that for us devs, it wraps up in code and imposter syndrome. Now let's talk a little bit about amateurs versus professionals. Pressfield talks about the difference between amateurs and professionals in his book, The Art of War. An amateur might code when they feel like it, maybe work on their side project when they're inspired. Sound familiar? A professional shows up daily. They code, debug, and push through, whether they feel like it or not. You can tell when a developer is stuck in amateur mode when they give up after a small bug breaks their spirits. A pro, they dig in, solve the problem, and keep going. So how do you turn pro as a developer? It's about showing up every day, even when you're not in the mood. You can wait for motivation, whether you're writing tests or slogging through documentation. A professional does the work consistently. Pressfield says turning pro is the first step to beating resistance, and that couldn't be more true for software developers. If you commit to learning a new framework or building a side project, even when it stinks, you're on your way to greatness. And speaking of things running like a pro, if your company has systems that aren't connected, let us help you out. Here at Startup Hack, our specialty is connecting systems to help your company work like a well-oiled machine. So check out startuphack.com/Spencer and let's help you fix it today. Now, Pressfield says that fear and resistance go hand in hand. Fear of failure, fear of launching something, and nobody using it. Sound familiar? Developers face this all the time. Fear can even make you doubt your skill levels. What if my code isn't good enough? What if I mess up this deployment? Pressfield says the more scared you are of something, the more likely it's what you should be doing. Fear means you're pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, and that's where growth happens. Now, self-doubt is like a sidekick to resistance. Ever sat there and thought, am I even good enough to be doing this? That's self-doubt creeping in. Even the best developers go through this. The key is to recognize that this doubt isn't fact, it's just resistance in disguise. Whether you're coding your first full stack app or debugging an entire production system, the best developers push through self-doubt and keep going. As Pressfield said, you can't let the doubt stop you from doing the work. Now, Pressfield is huge on routine, and I couldn't agree more. Having a daily routine is crucial for overcoming resistance. For a developer, that might mean setting aside time to code every day, even if it's just 30 minutes. Maybe it's reserving an hour every morning to contribute to an open source project. When you build a habit, you no longer rely on motivation. It's all about momentum. And once you've got that going, resistance loses its power. Now, Pressfield talks about the idea of invoking the muse, a higher creative force. For developers, we might call this getting in the zone. It's that flow state where everything clicks and the code practically writes itself. But here's the trick. This state only comes if you consistently show up and do the work. You can't sit around waiting to feel inspired. You have to grind through the boring stuff first, and then boom, you're in the zone. And if you need help connecting the dots for your company's systems, well, that's where Startup Hack comes in. We specialize in integrating systems so that everything runs like a dream. Head over to startuphack.com/Spencer today to learn more. Now, Pressfield also talks about creative work as a calling, and this definitely applies to software development. For many of us, coding isn't just a job, it's a passion, a calling. But with that comes pressure, and that pressure can turn into resistance. Pressfield says the bigger your calling, the more resistance you'll face. That's why it's essential to recognize it for what it is and push through no matter how daunting the task task feels. Now let's take a page from Amazon's recent struggles with AI and Alexa. They had a 10-year head start and the largest cloud infrastructure in the world, but resistance took hold in the form of complacency. They didn't push the boundaries when they had the chance, and now they're playing catch up. As developers, we need to learn from this. Never get too comfortable with what you know. Push the envelope, keep learning, and never let resistance win. So as Pressfield explains, the battle with resistance is ongoing. Whether you're learning a new coding language or trying to build a startup from scratch, resistance will always be there. The key is persistence. It's not about winning a one-time battle. It's about showing up to fight every day. You're not going to win every fight, but if you keep at it, you'll eventually break through. Now, what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I love to have a great discussion. So leave a comment down below if nothing else to say hi, and make sure to like and subscribe. Here at Startup Pack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps and to build custom software solutions. So reach out because we'd love to help. Hit the link down below or check out startuppack.com today.